Donald Trump has been president for a month and a half, and he just gave an address to a joint meeting of Congress. And something that struck me with this event was that Democrats had no idea how to respond. They looked like completely lost, deer in the headlights.
Yeah.
Totally misguided. I didn't understand what the strategy going into that speech was.
Well,
some of them were holding up paddle signs. Others were screaming.
Yes. Well, Representative Al Green got
Yeah.
thrown out and then censured in Congress. A lot of them started walking out throughout the speech at different parts of it. By the end, only about half of the Democrats were left in Congress, in the audience.
Yeah, and it shows me that I don't think the Democrats have zero game plan on how to go about dealing with Donald Trump. But I don't think it's just the Democratic Party's fault, actually. I think the people are kind of done with them in a way. The Democratic Party's approval rating is the lowest it's ever been so far recorded by recent polls. It has the lowest favorability it ever has.
Wow.
35% of Democrats don't have a favorable view of the Democratic Party. When you look at the Republican Party, 98% of Republicans view the Republican Party favorably. Democrats have lost their base. Independents hate Democrats, 75% having an unfavorable view.
That is so interesting.
Of the Democratic Party. It's because, well, I shouldn't even say it's because I don't know why. But I think the Democrats are quiet and they aren't speaking out more as they were in 2016 is just because they have nothing to say.
Yeah.
They've said everything they could have said.
Yes.
They said Donald Trump was going to give money to rich people. They said he was going to cut Social Security and Medicare. They said he was a fascist.
Yeah.
And he won.
Yeah. You know what it kind of reminds me of, to make it a little bit, to put it on the personal plane? It's like, do you ever deal with those people who, I mean, I sometimes see myself as one of these people. I also feel like I know many of them who are miserable, but really self-aware about everything that causes their misery, to the point where as you listen to them talk about it, you want to help. But the only way to really help someone, like the way that at least my mind goes, and I think most people's mind goes, is like you want to tell them the thing to change their perspective on their situation and realize no, if you realize this, or you start living this way, then you'll be okay. Then you'll start feeling better. And the Democrats are that. They what they have realized now is they have the audience that they're speaking to. They have no new piece of information. No. They have no new perspective to offer them that could change what they want to do. And so they've made themselves the anti-Trump, the anti-MAGA party since 2016, purposefully thinking that it was a powerful political strategy. And I expected or hoped that it would be, but
now, it wasn't.
It wasn't.
It wasn't. And now it seems like in the now listen, I'm a partisan, okay? I want the Democratic Party to win. I believe in a strong Securities and Exchange Commission. I believe in Social Security. I believe in all those things. So I'm in favor of the Democratic Party winning. But the vast majority of the country has no idea what the Democratic Party stands for. They have no clue. The party is branded with being the party of the elite. By being the party of who want to trans your kids. Yeah. That is what the Democratic Party is known as in middle America.
Yeah.
And it needs an entire rebranding, which I don't think it's going to be able to actually accomplish in a meaningful way.
Well, that's the question, is what steps could they even take? One of the things that we mentioned right before we got on and recorded this is Governor Gavin Newsom of California, arguably the biggest face of the Democratic Party right now.
That's upsetting.
He just started a podcast, and his first episode was interviewing Charlie Kirk, who is the leader of Turning Points USA. If you are kind of into online politics or political discourse at all,
then you know him.
You know him. And so I wonder if like you're saying, it's hard to imagine how they come back from this, because from our perspective, they had such compelling arguments.
Yeah.
From your perspective, Democrats are in the right as far as what they want to do policy-wise.
Yeah.
But it's not about policy. It's about how they are presenting themselves on the stage that no longer is the real world, the stage that is the internet. And they've just become, I don't even know what to call them besides obsolete.
Cringe? cringe.
Sure,
They're
sure.
cringe. I mean, they're
Yes.
they're cringy. And it's even people who are Democrats like myself.
Yeah.
Democrats are cringy.
Totally.
Right?
Totally.
You know, I go to a protest and I see a guy wearing the pink pussy hat.
Yeah.
That's cringy.
It's,
right?
It's weird because like there's something that's slightly off where Democrats do, at least mostly, believe that their policies, that what they're trying to implement is the right thing to do.
Yeah.
But there is always something a little bit not genuine about their communication of it. Like it always feels like there's something staged. There's some like they are controlling themselves. They're being politicians.
Yeah.
And how they communicate it. And that is so unlikable.
Off-putting. It's so off-putting. It's so gross. It's grimy. It
Yes.
makes you feel like it's like the Democratic Party feels like a really annoying babysitter.
Yeah.
That's what it feels like.
Yeah.
And whereas Trump feels like the cool dad.
Yeah.
Where the Democratic Party feels like the annoying babysitter.
Yes, and Trump feels like, I guess, the cool dad, but also the like dumb dad, but like you can laugh at him.
Yeah.
Like the cool dad or the dumb grandpa, but the one who is funny because he is genuine, because he's not trying to be funny, and maybe sometimes he is trying to be funny, but because it feels like he's just shooting from the hip, and that's entertaining.
Right. And when you listen to what Trump says, you genuinely believe what he thinks what he says.
Yes.
Whereas when you hear Kamala Harris talk, you're like, no, she probably didn't, mean that. And the only Democrat who I truly believe to this day is the only one who is the true voice of the party, who gives it any real bones, is Bernie Sanders.
Yeah.
Bernie Sanders comes out. He does a tour throughout Middle America, goes to Omaha, goes into Wisconsin, and he's giving these talks, these huge talks. People are going there, they're overflow rooms, and he's talking about fighting the oligarchy, the Fight the Oligarchy tour.
Yes.
Where is that messaging, Democrats? What's going on? It doesn't exist, but also it almost feels like preaching to the choir a little, because we just ran an election on this. We knew that Donald Trump was going to put Elon Musk, the richest man in the entire world, in front of his cabinet.
Yes.
And then he had buy-in from all the tech oligarchs. Like, we knew all this stuff already.
Yes.
So,
and his voters did too. So it's not like you're doing something effective and spreading the word. Like, you do realize he's doing this with the oligarchs, right? Because the answer that you're getting is yes, and we love it.
Yeah.
We're totally into it.
oh yeah, we want the oligarchs to own everything.
Yeah.
And that's what I don't know if they're putting those pieces together, perhaps, but they're like, no, we want the oligarchs to be in control.
We want the oligarchs to be running things because their being oligarchs means that they must have been good at running things.
Yes.
And so they get to create an argument like that. But I want to go back to your point about like, Bernie is going out and he's giving these big talks, and you're like, where's the messaging, Democrats? Like, why aren't you following that? The issue, again, is they would love to just copy and paste Bernie's messaging.
Right.
But they cannot sound like Bernie when they say it.
No,
and
they
so,
can't.
like, us as we're like meta analysts and commentators, we know that they are going to be constrained by political impulses when they're saying things about what they want to do for policy.
Yeah.
So for us, since we care more about policy, it doesn't necessarily matter if they're saying it in the way that Bernie says it, where they actually feel it and it's coming from the heart.
Yeah.
It matters somewhat, but also like we care just that the SEC remains strong, right? That the NLRB remains strong, and we trust that there's enough political pressure on a Democratic candidate who talks about wanting to uphold the strength of these institutions that they will actually do it.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's exactly right. Where, and I don't know what exactly I shouldn't say that. The last election was based off of vibes, off of prices being too high and people being upset about those two things. Okay. Trump was cooler, plus eggs were too expensive. Do you think that Democrats get their voice back when eggs stay expensive? Do you think that that's something that happens?
No.
Me neither.
No.
I don't think they have. Listen, there are political comebacks. I'm sure after 2012, Republicans thought that they were never going to win an election again after they lost to a president who was overseeing in the midst of a recession. I'm sure all Republicans thought they were never going to win an election again, and then Trump came in and blew everything up. So I'm not going to sit here and say that the Democratic Party is totally screwed forever, because the Democratic politics has a way of working itself out sometimes. But it seems the concept of Democrats becoming the majority America party again is foreign to me. It seems almost alien and incomprehensible.